what's up everybody?
Hello, welcome
to another, and it is Wednesday today, Wednesday live stream.
Yeah.
With the insiders. I'm Peter, as you can see down there.
My name is Eric.
And yeah, today's going to be an interesting one.
Already long time waiting for this one.
We can finally say it.
We are going
4090!
Yeah, 4090, 4080.
4080, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ada Lovelace. And I mean, all these, it's like Tourette's. We've got like Tourette's now. All the things we weren't able and allowed to say for so many months.
Yeah.
We're finally able to say.
You've been working on this like already for a long time, right? Together with HU, helping them?
Yeah, for months.
Yeah.
Months. And of course, I mean, then it's still, before that, they work in code names. So even we don't know the final names of the products until, I don't know, a couple of weeks before.
Yeah. We always call it next gen.
Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense. You kind of guess as well that you say, right, so it's probably going to be...
the brick.
It's probably going to be like RTX 40 series, right? Because you're on 30 now, and before that was a 20. So, you know, that's like an educated guess. But in terms of, you know, is it going to be 4090 or 4080, 4070, whatever? That's always a guess. But yeah.
Yeah. So today we don't have a giveaway because
Spanish subtitles. Oh, I'd love to see them.
We have too much content, so we choose not to do a giveaway.
No. We basically just want to get through the coverage.
Yeah, and before we start with RTX 40, I would also like to talk about coming weeks because, like already announced, we have a little bit strange schedule because normally we only do live streams on Wednesdays and we start at 4 o'clock CEST, so 4 o'clock in the afternoon. However, next Monday we will have a live stream, and this is the first time we do 2 live streams in 1 week, right?
Not the first time, I think, but yeah, it's very, very rare that we do that. So
I can't remember it.
Let's just say, I've said this before when we announced, when we were talking about the schedule, when we do have 2 live streams in a week, you better be damn sure we have good reason to do so, and it'll be worth your time.
NDA, so we're not allowed to talk about it. Yes. You probably already know what we're going to talk about. Then next week, Wednesday, the 28th. Oh, one moment.
What?
Monday we start at 3 o'clock, so 1 hour earlier, 1 hour ahead of schedule, our traditional normal schedule. So Wednesday we're going to talk about covering the Intel Innovation Event. You probably also know what's that about. The Wednesday after, something NDA again.
Yep.
Wednesday the 12th, finally the 4090 are going to launch.
Yeah, that's what one of the things that was announced yesterday, indeed. Yeah. So,
and there's
also more about that in a minute.
Yeah, indeed. And then the 20th, also fixed date. Again, something NDA. Yep. Oh, that's a Thursday, sorry, the 20th. Yes. That's a Thursday. And then from that moment on, we hope to continue again on Wednesdays. So a bit in regular schedule.
And I see a couple of people asking, no cards, no cards. Yeah, we will have cards. Settle down, you know. We don't want to just, you know, throw the cards in your face and say, thanks for watching, goodbye. No. We're going to take our time.
As you already can imagine, today we're not going to do any benchmarks. That's not allowed. We are not going to talk about TDPs, clock speeds. NVIDIA has a lot of restrictions. But we can already show you our cards.
We will talk about the things that we are allowed to talk about. Anything we don't show, you can ask about, but it's very safe to assume that if we don't mention it, it's probably not. We're probably not allowed to mention it or to say it.
Yeah, indeed. So let's maybe do a quick recap of the GTC live stream yesterday.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think everybody knows next generation is called Ada Lovelace. She. How do you say that? Used to be a scientist or was a scientist?
She was indeed a famous mathematician, I believe. Mathematician. And of course, if you're new to this, but NVIDIA usually uses names of indeed famous scientists. You know.
And it's
every generation.
Yeah, it's a huge core. 67. What is it in English?
67 billion.
Yeah, 67 billion transistors. Yeah. We had a long discussion if it was 5 nanometer or 4 nanometer. I see the online, it's also not clear.
We've been reassured by NVIDIA themselves that it's the same architecture as Hopper. And Hopper has been here since, I think, last generation, right? It's been here for a while already. And it's quite clear, you can find data on that as well. That is based on 4 nanometers. So that means that this is actually 4 nanometer based.
And it's a custom process, so you can create your own nodes at TSMC. And yeah, this of course, it has all the shader stuff everybody knows, and this is a lot faster than what we used to in the past. Besides that, ray tracing, they're talking about 3rd gen RT cores and a lot of extra stuff. We will go into more detail. And then deep learning, and basically everything is just faster.
Yeah, it's again a big step ahead.
And if we talk about shaders, normally it takes, let me animate this, normally there are a lot of things which are out of order, so it can only do step-by-step execution, and now they have, what is it called, SER?
Well the thing about it is that, especially with ray tracing, normally rasterized performance and rasterized calculations, rendering, you can segment that and parallelize it, I think it's called. So basically you can make sure that you know, it's neatly aligned. With ray tracing, it's way more kind of organic, maybe is the word, that it's more like indeed, it comes as it comes, but you cannot really plan it. But what NVIDIA have done is indeed they've tried to make sure that they, within the pipeline, that they will try to arrange things in a way that's more efficient. So in that, with the same pipeline, they can do more rendering, basically, so more efficient.
Yeah, and yesterday they also talked about the different generations. We're not going into much detail, but I think you all remember the first Battlefield was using ray tracing. It kind of, you know, there was limited ray tracing. In the beginning, actually, there was a lot of ray tracing and it was really slow. The performance impact was a lot. Then they fine-tuned it. So one of NVIDIA's stories was yesterday as well. They're learning. They're developing this, learning.
It's a process.
They're finding out the bottlenecks in each generation. Each generation of the RTX cores, let's say the RT cores, they're adding stuff which helps them in not only improving speed, but also finding the next bottlenecks and adding the next eye candy, let's say like that. So also this generation, a lot of new stuff in the 3rd generation. And I think this is pretty exciting. I'm just going to skip all the animations because I mean, there are enough live streams and blogs about this. DLSS 3. Yes. And it's a kind of advanced stuff because it, you know, in the past it was basically upscaling. So it was rendering at low resolution and with AI adding information to have a 4K image, for example, or a higher resolution image. Now they're adding complete frames.
So basically they take like the previous frame and the next frame that's rendered, and then in between that, in the time that it takes to actually show those as well, they will render a completely new frame in between, which will try to capture the changes between those two frames and add a frame that kind of like smooths the transition between those two. So it's really, it sounds really fancy, and we'll have to see how it works in real life. But so somebody's saying, so my 3060 ray tracing should also improve. No, this DLSS 3 will only work on RTX 40. Technically, it is possible to run it on older GPUs because some of the parts they're using are already inside. I think it's the optical flow accelerator are already inside from Turing inside the GPU. From the 20 series.
However, speed, that is what it's missing.
They're much slower. So as you can imagine, you know, with each generation, all these components get way faster. So at least for the moment, it's only available on the 40 series. Technically, they said it would be possible to enable it on the older cards, but that would really not be
smooth.
It would not really reach the target that you'd want, which is a smoother experience and faster frame rates.
But positive, they did not say it will not come or it will not be enabled.
They say it's technically possible. But that doesn't mean that they will do it at some point. It really depends on how this thing develops. And they'll only do it when, at least this is what they said, when it makes sense. So when it actually benefits the experience. Anyway.
So this is the different architectures compared to each other. We have Turing, Ampere, and Ada Lovelace. And there you see that for ray tracing, the performance increased a lot. So, and they're all different things.
Massive.
They also, indeed. They also talked about the power, of course, and quite confusing because on one hand they're saying, hey, it's using 450 watts. On the other hand, they say the efficiency improved, and that is possible if the performance also increased a lot. So for these kind of numbers, we have internal benchmarks. We're not allowed to talk about it, but let's just wait until the launch date, until all the editors get their hands on some cards, and then your independent reviewer can.
That will give a much more nuanced and indeed a bit more context to the numbers. Of course, you know what NVIDIA presents Of course, those will be they want to present it and they want people to be hyped about it. So they will present, really good numbers and like the best case scenarios.
Yeah.
At least that's usually the case.
But yeah, you really noticed yesterday they put a lot of emphasis on ray tracing and DLSS, so AI performance, which is nice. But I'm playing a lot of old games which don't benefit from this. So that's also
not yet, but that's something that may also.
The old games will probably, some will be optimized indeed. Yeah. So here's some benchmarks, and again, I'm just going to show you this. It was not included.
We're not really going to go into it.
Yeah, it was not included in yesterday's presentation from NVIDIA.
It is on their website though, so you can
just
also
wait
see
until
it there.
Independent benchmarks. What we today want to show mainly is our own coolers, our own VGA cards. They also announced a lot of games will support this. So some are new updates, some are just patches.
Some are games that are yet to come out, and of course there are
game engines.
Exactly, there are even Frostbite, Unity, Unreal Engine. So they also mentioned those, which are they're not games, but it is important because there are a lot of games based on these engines. So
one of the games I like, it's always giving me headaches, is Portal. And here you see with RTX off and with RTX on, and I think this is a game which typically can benefit from RTX. There are like metal surfaces, etc. A lot of water, light, etc.
Yes.
Here again the benchmarks from NVIDIA. We took this, I think, from the website.
But I think this one was shown, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday as well.
Yeah, and this is all with, of course, the new special features like DLSS 3 and ray tracing. So this one gives, you see on the left side, you see today's games. So this means they're not optimized for ray tracing or DLSS 3, which actually gives you a quite good performance indication. And of course, wait for the real benchmarks, independent benchmarks. But you see some cards are already compared to a 3090 up to 50% to even 100% faster. So that's promising. But again, this can be cherry picking, can be the resolution, just one setting difference which gives us a big boost.
We'll have to wait and see. That's the short of it.
And I think you all noticed that NVIDIA yesterday also put a lot of emphasis on the RTX and DLSS 3. So that's what you see on the right side, next generation. Which, they're right. But we never know when next generation is coming. Is that like in November, like with Portal? Or is that in 2 years' time? Like, I think the first generation we had to wait a long time for Battlefield, right? With ray tracing? Like a half year or something?
Yeah, exactly. it was implemented even after launch, indeed. So it was, but this was a completely new technology, a completely new way of rendering. So it's, in a way you can kind of appreciate that it took a bit of time. At the same time, NVIDIA were selling it like, hey, ray tracing, and it was pretty much not available yet at launch. So it was a bit weird, but. So
NVIDIA Reflex, they're also putting more emphasis on this, and they're like what we also have some benchmarks, and this is all about the latency, your mouse input and how it reacts on the screen. I wouldn't notice this. I'm too old. I think you all saw me gaming in the last few months. We also have some hardware for that. Peter, GM41 lightweight V2 and lightweight wireless.
I've got one here. This is the wireless version indeed, but our, I want to say the latest. Yeah, they are still the latest mice. GM41 lightweight V2 and the lightweight wireless, which I'm holding right here. Those are all certified to work with NVIDIA Reflex. Actually, this is a Reflex latency analyzer certified. Basically, pretty much all mice can work with the Reflex thing in general. This was even Reflex latency analyzer. That means you have the monitor with the module, and it can, like, in real time display it on the screen through that hardware that it has. So that's even more specified.
Yeah, I see a lot of comments about DLSS 3 and that, I saw the comments that it's driving in a straight line. Cyberpunk, the car was driving in a straight line, and the rumor is, or the story is that when you have more motion on the screen, it will give artifacts. Well, I think
we don't know that yet. There was I think, who was doing a deep dive on it? Digital Foundry?
Yeah, Digital Foundry, they're the expert on image quality, and they will, they're independent, meaning they will never sacrifice their opinion or their, how do you say that?
Yeah, basically they won't hold back. They won't hold back any criticism that they have. They will just do pure analysis.
And I think this week they will still publish a video with their judgment on DLSS 3 and the new RTX core. Basically, they already have a 4090, I assume.
Yeah, and they even put on some. They already uploaded on their channel some like footage preview footage that they recorded. And I mean, again, I don't know if that's edited or if it's at all. I think what they mentioned is it was recorded in 4K 120 FPS or hertz. But of course YouTube cannot display that, so they uploaded it like slowed down instead.
Half
so you get, indeed, so you get like 60 FPS, and it's like, you know, it's slowed down a bit. But still, from the things that we looked at there, it looked pretty crisp. But again, that doesn't mean that it's going to be crisp in all cases or in all scenarios. Yeah. With the previous version of DLSS as well, there was, you know, at some points you will discover maybe 1 or 2 outliers that may give some issues. Or maybe not, I don't know.
So I would just say check the YouTube channel for Digital Foundries. In the coming days. This video should be online, and then everybody can judge themselves. And I think, you know, maybe it will not be perfect, but you can bet that it should be better than version 2.4 nowadays. DLSS 2.
Yeah, there's so many versions, but yeah.
Indeed, and they will continue to make improvements. I'm sure of that. Then we have 3 GPUs compared to each other. We took the main difference in specs. So we have 4090, 4080, 16 gig, and 4080 12 gig. I already see some people 4080 12 gig that should have been 4070 or 4070 Ti. It's all possible, you know. In the end, NVIDIA makes these names, and they can do whatever they want. Meaning they can launch a 4080 Ti, they can launch a 4070 Ti. I think that's. And
basically, I mean, the name, yes, it's somewhat important because it does create like an expectation of what level of performance
and pricing.
In that respect, indeed, it may be a bit confusing because if you take it at face value, 4080 16 gig versus 4080. 12 gig, you may think, oh, all right, so the only difference is a bit of memory. I'm not playing at that high resolution, like 4040p or whatever. All right, fine, I'll go for the 12 gig. But you know, you have to take note that the actual GPU is different as well. It's missing about 20% of the shaders compared to the 16 gig model, and also the memory bandwidth is quite a bit less. So yeah, there is, and also the as you can see, the power usage is less as well. So. Yeah, it's a trade-off.
This is all based on the reference design, so our own cards, to which we will look in a few minutes, I would say. Yeah. It's already there on the screen.
Online.
You know, they have different clock speeds, so power usage will be different, performance will be different. So you will all see that in the independent reviews.
These are the NVIDIA base specs. Yeah.
Indeed. And what we noticed, 3090 Ti, it has a 7th generation encoder, and probably because of that it can also not do any AV1 encoding, which they now improved, and it seems they have 2 dual 8 generations encoders. They didn't talk about it, so let's wait what the benefit of that is. But could be like streaming at the same time.
Yeah, basically
I don't know what you can do at the same time.
There was some content available about it, but indeed, I mean, it still has to be tested in real life. But basically, what they say is you should be able to encode things way more efficiently, especially because you have dual encoders. So that means, especially content creators, if you are going to render videos or something like that, you can just do it faster, which for content creators, of course, is great, because anything that reduces the time they need to create their content is just pure win for them.
Yeah. A little bit about pricing. Yesterday they gave you the reference pricing. We are not allowed to talk about our pricing, about our clock speeds, about our TDP, as you know.
And to be fair, we don't even know our pricing yet. At least maybe some people in MSI, but you know, not us yet.
No, too early for that.
That's also not really our department.
When was the launch? 12th of October, right? Then by that time pricing will also be announced, I would say. But here you see also how it compares to the previous generation, and a little bit from NVIDIA, I have to say, the performance indication. Of course, wait for the benchmarks.
And to be fair, just a little preface there, yes, there is an MSRP, which is communicated by NVIDIA, of course. But as usual, you can assume that most of the third party, basically our cards as well, will have a little bit of a price premium over that because of the cost overhead basically that we have. So yeah, it's the same every generation, shouldn't be a surprise, but that's just kind of to manage expectations as well. it's not realistic to, for example, expect a Supreme model at MSRP. That's just.
So you're already talking about Supreme. This picture already shows you our different cards at this moment, and you know, some of this one even will not be launched soon. Will be like second wave, and maybe there will be more models later. And I also don't know which one is 4090 or 4080. Yeah. But Peter, so we have Supreme.
Yes, indeed. So what you see here is Supreme. There is a gaming trio card.
That's this one, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is Supreme?
We will go into that a little bit later. Gaming trio.
Yeah.
On the very right side is Ventus 3X.
Yeah.
So Ventus is there as well. And that's a new one. And I'm not going to tell you which one yet, but I'd rather just dive into the details. Yeah, it is a Supreme card, yeah. But how about we go dive into the first card and start off with a nice movie?
Let's do that, if it works.
Well, let's try it. Let's give it a try. Okay, guys. So we asked our headquarters. We don't have little physical samples here, unfortunately.
We have.
Yeah, but they're not.
We're not allowed to show them.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're not the final
So what we did is instead in the past I was, for example, sometimes in HQ and I could show the cards. That's one of the streams we did.
At like 11 night in your hotel room.
Yeah. Snuck off out of the office with the samples. But what we did now is we asked our HQ to record some footage of the cards and show some of the features, and that's what we want to show you guys now. We're going to show it to you. There's no sound there, so basically we can just talk over it. We'll do the narration. And
I think the first thing what people already notice is how thick it is.
Yeah, they are. I mean, honestly, 450 watt base power target or TDP, that's quite big. So yeah. But let's run the video and see what you guys think. So we've got a nice 360 view first of the card. So this is the Supreme 4090 Supreme X.
So from the front side, it looks quite a lot. On the like 3090 Supreme, right?
It is, but it is a little bit different. So
the devil is in the details. Below the.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the theme of our this generation as well as Apex evolution. So basically we've chosen to evolve our concepts rather than to completely revise them, because from what we've seen and the feedback we've had is that people are actually pretty happy with the basic design and the basic features. So yeah, then it doesn't make sense to completely overhaul them, right?
Question: 3 display plus and 1 HDMI 2.1.
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yep. Chunky boy, yes it is.
A lot of questions in the chat.
Yeah, well, actually we'll go into that a little bit later. And actually also, I think our product pages are coming online. I'm not sure most of them are. And you should be able to find some base specs there. Also, we've put out a PR with all the specs as well. Things like dimensions, weight.
What will the stock levels be for Supreme? I cannot really comment on Supreme specific, but overall stock should be fine. There should not be an issue, especially compared to previous generations.
Yes.
From what we heard, and you know, I didn't ask for details like normally we get a lot of shipments, first, second. I didn't ask for details, but they said it's looking very healthy.
Yeah,
so
pretty good. Yeah. Especially compared to previous generation launches, they were saying it looks pretty good.
Is the DisplayPort 2.0? No, it's not.
No.
It's what is it? 1.4.
1.4A, if I'm not mistaken. And we even had the opportunity to ask also people at NVIDIA why this was.
We saw this online, also on Reddit, etc. A lot of comments, questions.
And if they were considering upgrading, and they said, well, it already supports up to 4K 60 hertz, and monitors are still catching up to that. So it doesn't really make that much sense to be upgrading to a standard that actually isn't even being used in almost any monitors or any monitors at all yet. So, I mean, yeah, hypothetically, cool, it's a new thing, but if it doesn't offer you any actual benefits that you can profit from, or that you can, that you can use, it's just going to add cost. And I mean, these things are expensive enough as it is. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. So another question: are there any 3 slots cards? And then you're probably referring to RTX 4090, which is, yes, technically it's possible, but the problem is you still need to be able to cool the card, and it probably will become longer.
Yeah.
because you still need to dissipate all the heat from this at least 450 watt.
Exactly.
And I say at least because
That's the
RTDB,
base spec.
yeah, indeed, more speed, higher clocks means
Also,
more heat.
Just a little,
More bigger cooler.
just a little disclaimer, guys. The chat is going brrrr.
Yeah, sorry.
To put it in the meme, haha, chat go brrr. But seriously, it's very hard to pick out individual. We're doing our best, so if we see something, we'll call it out. But it's like, you know, they keep moving up so fast, it's hard to keep up
And
with
later
it. Sorry if we don't catch your question. Yeah,
And
we're
later
trying.
we will show you a cooler which is not 3 slots.
Yeah. Well, not 3 slots.
Is it not 3? I don't know.
This one's
No,
4,
this
actually.
one, but the other one. This is, what is it, 3.5? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's just occupying 4 slots.
It's pretty much 4 slots, yeah.
And that's also why...
Power cables, we'll get back to. Actually, we want to talk about that a little bit more specifically later on as well, because again, this is also a new thing with this generation, so we do want to clarify a couple of things there. Yeah, but let's need to save that for when it comes up. GPU stand included, yep, and mousepad as well, yep, that's actually coming up, but let's continue. So here is actually a bit of size comparison. As you can see, our lovely assistant from HQ is comparing the sizes here, and I'll pause the video here. On the right side, there is a 3090 Supreme, and that one is pretty much 3 slots in total width. And then there is, on the left side, of course, the 4090. So this is a 90 versus 90 comparison. And just to give you an idea of that is actually how massive and how big these cards are in terms of the heat dissipation and what they need to be able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 3.75 slots, I see, indeed, the 4090 Supreme. So, but to all intents and purposes, it takes 4 slots because there's nothing you can do with the 0.25.
So Guy Douche on Twitch is saying they overclocked the 4090 to 3 gigahertz. Looks like OC King. Please remember, this is in a probably in a laboratory. You don't know what the cooling is. Maybe it's LN2 or
probably
something.
Liquid nitrogen.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. And you don't know what they did to the drivers to maybe limit this or something. So
usually, if we look at the last generations, the trend that has been basically that the algorithm out of the box, that's called GPU Boost from NVIDIA, has been doing a very good job. Meaning that out of the box you will get pretty much all the performance that it can squeeze out of it under certain, safe the guides basically that NVIDIA set out. But that also means that there's less room, headroom left for you to do manual overclocking. Yeah. So it's kind of like a trade-off. So on the one hand, it's good because that means everybody's getting more performance out of the cards out of the box. On the other hand, it's bad if you're into overclocking because it just leaves less room for you to have fun. But again, we're not sure how that is on the 40 series. We haven't been able to test that yet. We're going to have to see.
I see a question. It's already gone.
That's the thing. It's, all right, let's just continue to because we've got a lot to go through. Yeah. What we're doing here, what we've asked them to do here is highlight which parts, because we weren't able to...
RGB question.
Exactly. We weren't allowed to show the cards powered on yet, meaning we also can't show you the RGB powered on.
We have marketing photos, which
renders.
Renders indeed. So you have an idea of how the RGB looks and where it's located, but we asked our HQ colleague indeed, can you please
so this is very
it.
Comparable to the 30 series, Supreme series, which had the same, the arrows basically lit up in RGB in the what we call the shroud or the front of the card. On the side, you will have RGB on the Supreme and MSI logos, but also running along, and maybe I can clarify this with my mouse, also running along this edge here, just between the light and the dark spot. It's very hard to see in this angle, but there's also a layer in between there that's like a diffuse
milky glass
plastic. Well, it's not glass, but like a diffuse type of plastic indeed, which will also let air through. So it's really nice. Yeah. And that means you pretty much over the full length of the card you will have RGB, and you can run different colors or effects. And then on the back of the card, with this the back plate, of course, we have a new logo. So that's what she's highlighting here. And that's the new Supreme logo. So it's shaped like a diamond, as you can see, with some nice geometric shapes. And that one is also backlit by RGB.
Is that a metal case or not? So the shroud?
Yeah, it's
shroud. We're talking about the cover on the front.
Yeah, it's part. Wait, maybe if I go back a little bit. Here we go. So you can see there's basically 2 tones here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Maybe you need to.
Oh yeah, I can.
Just remove this part.
Yeah. So
this is the 30 series, and what you can see here. Maybe can you do the close-up?
Sure,
maybe
sure,
then
sure,
I can. Here we go. So basically, and I took this off because later on we're going to actually look at a heatsink from the 30 series, which has a lot of features from what's found on the 40.
And we can
series
highlight
as
the
well.
differences.
Exactly. But you can see here that this part of the cover of the 30 series is metal. It's brushed metal, right? But the outside here, this is plastic. So it's basically bracketed by plastic. In the new design, if you go back to my capture feed, please. it's similar. Yeah, which one is it? It's similar, but you can see the two tones here. So basically, these parts here, the more bluish, metal, I guess.
Gray.
Yeah, grayish.
Gunpowder gray.
Yeah,
maybe.
whatever. No, well, not gunpowder is a bit more brownish, I think, in the mix. But yeah, but these parts here are plastic. And this is a small part here, and all the more lightly colored
are metal.
That's metal, basically.
Yeah.
So it's a redesign. It is similar in a way. So as you can see, it's more like an evolution of our current design of the 30 series. Gray blue, indeed. Yeah, it's like for me, it's like almost a metallic, the kind of blue. But anyway, yeah. So that's the difference. So it's a combination of those two materials, and the backplate is basically the same. Here's the backplate as well. Actually, I want to go to this one because here actually the Sprimlo is the right way up. But it's kind of the same, although the ratio of metal, so this is an aluminum backplate, as you can see, with a nice brushed finish. And then only at the very end of the card there is a bit of plastic to hold everything together, indeed. And it has a flow-through design, as you can see here, which also has been seen in the last generation already on a couple of cards. So a lot of things are similar, and a couple of things are new or upgraded.
So Peter, maybe I switch to these photos. Then you already have an idea where the RGB is. These are renders, so it doesn't give you a real impression on how it looks.
Yeah, or how much light they emit.
Yeah,
or,
indeed. But at least you have an impression. This is also what our colleague just pointed out on the real product.
Yeah.
Too many buttons.
I
need to think which one I'm going to
Just don't hit
push.
the one that says end stream.
No.
That would be a shame.
Do I have one?
No, probably not.
No.
Anyway, okay. Here actually is one of the things you guys were asking for. This is the new power connector, and it is been called many names. So it can
it's
be
called many names.
Yeah, well, it can be called. You can call it 12 pin because that's actually it has 12 pins to do the power. You can call it 16 pin because it's actually 12 plus 4 because at the top here you can.
Oh yeah.
Cool, I was showing something.
Talk about top.
Yeah. At the top here, there are actually 4 very small pins. Those are sensor pins, and those are needed to communicate with the power supply to actually get it to deliver enough power. And if you have this type of power connector on your power supply natively as well, that means you only need one quite thin cable, which Eric will show you now, because we have a power supply here. This one is, you can tell me, because I think this is not out yet, right?
No, this is the AI 1300 power supply, so it's
an MEG, it's from the MEG series as well. So this thing is coming up soon, and so it's basically kind of like an...
I think it's already published on the website.
Oh, okay, sure. Anyway, so instead of the big ribbon cables that you're used to...
These?
Yeah, this is kind of, exactly. It's comfortable. Like, instead of having this running to your card, and this would constitute three 8-pins, right? And yeah, that's quite a lot, but that was quite common on high-end cards in the 30 series. Instead of that, you only have this guy, and you'll see this is the. Let's see if we can get the connector. Get it focus.
Focus. Yes.
Yeah, kind of. Anyway, so it's 12 actual pins for the power delivery and things like grounding, indeed. Yeah. And then the 4 pins at the top, that's on this side, these are the ones that will communicate to the power supply. But yeah, to be able to have only one of these cables, I'm trying to pull them out, it's quite secure in there, which usually is the case with these things. But as you can see on the power supply itself as well, like there is a dedicated native, and it's called
connector.
12, is it 12V power or something?
Yeah, PWR.
Yeah, there we go. So VH PWR indeed.
Don't worry for the, let's say the RTX 40, for example, you don't have to buy a new power supply.
No.
Only because of the cables. Which
will there be adapters? Yes.
Yes.
Go back to my capture, please.
This one.
Yes, because here you go. This is what you will get in the box. So as you can see on one end, I'll just go back just slightly. On one end you have, it's not really that sharp, but still, you get the idea. This is the power connector, the 16 pin or 12 plus 4 pin power connector. On the other end, you will have 4 8 pins.
4?
Yes, 4, because that's the equivalent that you need to basically, without these sensor cables, to stay within the old spec of the power supplies, which is, again, also a really good reason why this new power connector exists. Because I think for a lot of people, this is a friggin' bane in their existence, and if you like nice builds, these are horrendous, and they're impossible to, you know, make it look good or cable manage efficiently. It's just, they're terrible. So the new cables and the new power connector are a godsend. However, yeah, it's going to take some time to get used to.
And this cable this connector you can find on both 4080 and 4090.
Yes, in the box indeed. Yeah. I think pretty much for now, but don't pin me down on this, but for now I think the policy is that if we release a card which has this new power connector, the 16 pin, then we include one of these converters, because we know that almost nobody has one of these native new power supply units already in their systems. Also, just to clarify this, on the graphics side of things, so the connector you're looking at here on the actual graphics card itself, that thing is called PCIe 5 power connector. For the power supply itself, they are called ATX 3.0 standard.
Oh, don't make it too complex.
Exactly. So, but basically they mean the same thing. So you'll see them used interchangeably as well.
Can be also separated.
Yeah, but just to clarify, within the context of a graphics card, they will probably mean the same thing. Also, the biggest difference that the ATX 3.0 standard makes, or is basically constitutes, is that dedicated PCIe 5 connector, or the 12. Yeah. VH, PWR.
And a lot of small other numbers.
Exactly. Anyway, so, I mean, if you say you want a 40 series, get a new PSU2, no, you don't have to. And I think that's an important point that we need to get across.
Oh my
you don't
God.
have to, but you have to use the converter.
People are selling their second kidney.
Already?
But I think we already
Did
lost.
They grow new ones after?
Yeah, I mean, we had like 10 series, we lost one kidney. Then with 20 series, we lost a kidney.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, go back to the capture, please, because we need to keep going.
Hurry.
Not hurry, but we need to keep going. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to cover everything. Right. So here is one of the new designs as well. What you see here is the new Torx fan, which I'll explain a little bit what the difference is, but what we want to highlight here basically is also the outer rim. There's a bit of a taller outer rim that stands up a little bit more from the actual shroud to help the airflow inwards a little bit. That's it. Basically, it will help accelerate the airflow, and so it will increase the air pressure downwards. That results in better cooling. That's the short of it. Next shot. Let's see if we can make this a little bit faster. Here we go. So the difference for the Torx fan, the new one, is that with the previous generation we had two fan blades linked together in pairs. Now we have 3. Next generation will have, no, just kidding. Maybe, I don't know. I actually predicted that as well. I said, well, so next generation will have 3 fan blades, and that was a joke at the time because I thought, haha, that would be easy, wouldn't it? But what do you know? They actually did that. Anyway, so it's not just that. They also added a little bit of a notch at the end as well. Maybe indeed, Eric, if you switch, I see on your laptop there's a slide there. And indeed, that's the next 2 slides will highlight it. So this is the fan by itself. And as you can see, there's 3 pairs of fan blades linked together. And then at the end of each pairing of fan blades, triplets, however we're going to call them.
Triplets,
There is this little notch that's highlighted in blue in this slide that also, again, helps with the airflow. I'm not going to specify how, because that's going to be like a stream all unto itself. But basically, it helps to improve airflow and cooling. Then this is the fan cowl that I was mentioning, basically the thing that sticks up a little bit on the outside of the fans. And if you go one slide forward,
sorry.
Yeah, there we go. Highlighted there is basically on the inside, there's like little notches or whatever indeed. Again, also meant to help with airflow acceleration and distribution into the heatsink. That's the short of it. Yeah, I think let's see, maybe we can go back to my capture. There we go, yeah. The heatsink, there are some familiar features. You will see there is the wave curved heatsink. Yeah, Eric, you've got one there as well. And there's a little bit something special with that. And let's see if this still works. Can we switch to the capture of my phone? Oh, it works. Yes.
It works.
Okay, so what I did is I butchered, I hope you guys can forgive me, but I butchered a 3090 Ti Supreme card for this. And I say butchered. No, it's fine. I'll hold it. I say butchered, but I'll put it back together. I promise.
You should say, Eric.
It's expensive, and if I don't put it back together and it doesn't work, it's gonna come off my paycheck. So
you can also say Eric didn't take it apart, so probably it's still working.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, and I tried to do a nice job. You know, I cleaned the whole heatsink for you guys. So yeah, a couple of things I want to highlight here. So here you can see this is actually, and you can see it's the 30 series because two fan blades linked together. So this is a Torx fan 4.0, not 5. So this is not the new one. Yeah, now you can hold it because I'm going to remove one of the fans for you guys. Don't do this at home because you have to kind of get in between the fan blades. There we go. And then what I want to show you guys is one of the very small but significant details that we made in the heatsink. So each fan is being held, if you don't know that, by 3 little screws onto the heatsink. Here we go. And when you remove them, very carefully, you can remove or take aside the fan. You need to be careful. And what you can see here...
Because the cable is still connected.
Yeah, exactly, indeed. So you can see basically the cable is still connected, so I can't really rip it off, otherwise it's going to be damaged. And what I want to highlight here is that, okay, yes, we've got wave curved, as you can see, but not all waves are the same size. So the waves on the side here and into the middle, I think here's maybe a better way of showing it. Yeah, these are smaller here in the part between the fans, and the part directly under the fans, those waves are just a bit bigger. And basically that is done to also, again, with airflow in mind, but especially to reduce noise. So where the airflow goes into the heatsink more directly, which is under the fan, obviously, that's where the waves are a little bit bigger, so that the airflow is being dispersed a bit more smoothly and causes less turbulence, which results in less noise. I see some people, maybe we should put like an OnlyFans page where we do this kind of stuff, you know, like take the dress off the Supreme. Ooh. Anyway, so that's one of the big features. Another thing we want to show you is on the end of the card. So this is basically,
if I need to help or...
No, it's okay. This is basically the booty of, or let's just say, well, the rear end of the heatsink. And as you can see here, there is, we call these deflectors, which are stamped into each fin. Each of these fins here, which, you know, it's a big array and goes all the way across the card pretty much. And these help to basically push the air out onto a direction where, you know, we want to steer it. So basically, usually it will go more in the direction of the heat pipes, because that's where the heat is concentrated, and so that's where most of the cooling is needed. Yeah, there's no need. We have a render, Eric was pointing to that, but I think this is better. I mean, here you can basically, it's the same principle, it just looks a little bit different. We can show that in a minute. Another thing that's quite interesting to see, oh, let's not put it on the screws, is, I mean, usually, most of the time, when you have a heatsink, you'll see it's, you know, it's like this, right? It's flat, and we try to use as much area to cover fins and heat pipes as possible. However, when you get to this side, suddenly, what's this? There's like a V-shaped cutout. And this is basically at the end of the card. So this is where, well, pretty much this area here. Oh, can you see? Yeah, here we go. This side here is where most of the power delivery components are located. So here, it's basically just PCB and some components, but nothing that produces that much heat. And what we've done here by doing this is basically it creates a little cavity in between the heatsink and the PCB, which also helps to accelerate airflow basically out of the card, or in this case, because there is a flow-through design, to get more air out of the card. So what this will do is this will gather more air from the other areas into this little area here, and because this is a flow-through part.
This is the back of the PCB.
Yes, this will help to basically get rid of more air, because indeed here you have the back plate.
But this is 3090 Ti.
This is 3090 Ti, but the principle is pretty much the same. As you can see, the whole flow-through thing is what sits directly above this little cavity here. And that's actually what we did on the 4090 heatsink as well. I don't think many people knew that we actually did and trialed this on the 3090 Ti Supreme from this generation. But yeah, basically it's pretty much the same, maybe a little bit different, a little bit what applied lessons that we learned from this one, but the principle is the same. Yeah. Here we go. And then we can... don't lose the screws, Eric.
No. I'm not there.
Okay, we can switch back to, I think, my... can we switch back to my capture? Yep. Because then maybe we can complete the movie somewhat. Yeah, here's the back plate. Oh, sorry, yeah, the back side. Here you can see the deflectors, again, that I highlighted already. It's the same principle. They look a little bit different. They're actually a little bit in a different direction, slanted a little bit to one side. Again, this is to maximize the cooling efficiency and the cooling effect. This is also something nice I want to highlight. Yep, here we go. I'll pause it here. Compared to the last generation heatsink, don't worry, I'll just show it here. You can see this little part here. Actually, in previous generations, this little part of fin stack here was not really either not that big or just not there at all, and that had to do with the assembly of the heatsink itself. It was very difficult to fill all the available space with fins because you need to leave some space and you need to have a way to assemble
I will switch
the
to
heatsink itself. So yeah, here you can see basically big gap, right? There you go. I think people see it. There's a big gap here, especially if you hold it like this. There you go. So gap where where you can see that the heat pipes basically shape up to gather into the GPU
area
base plate. Yeah. And so we filled that with more fins, and basically I think everybody can understand that more fins means more surface area, means more cooling potential. That's basically it.
Which 4090 needs.
Yeah, well, yeah, which helps indeed. And then also another thing that you can see here nicely is this part here, and this is the anti-bending bracket. And especially with a big chunky boy like this, that is quite relevant and becomes more relevant. Also there, I have taken the liberty to kind of, well, again, take apart a existing card to show you and it's again the 3090 Ti Supreme.
Because we are not allowed to show the PCB of RTX 4090.
Exactly. So as you can see, I can zoom in on the die. Here we go. Right. This is a 3090
That's
Ti.
why you were cleaning it.
This is a GA Ampere 102. Yeah, that's why I was cleaning it. And because, come on, who doesn't like a polished die, right? This always looks nice. And you don't get to see that a lot. Anyway, as you can see, we were talking about this black metal part, running all along. And basically, in the past, what we had is basically like on one side we would have one part of the bracket just running like this, but especially since last generation and since the cards have gotten bigger, what we did is basically we made it a full frame. A full frame indeed that covers more of the card. Also, it acts a little bit as a heatsink, because you can see kind of fins here as well on some of the power delivery components, at least on the 3090 Ti.
The VRM.
The VRM indeed. And yeah, but for the rest, it just adds a lot of sturdiness. And this connects to both the heatsink and on screws that basically go through the PCB. I mean, I think it's the smaller holes, yeah, because the bigger ones are basically these are the mounting holes for the cooler. Yeah. Those four, but the smaller ones, these are basically what connects the this anti-bending bracket or yeah, this thing to the back plate, and I mean that thing just makes the card so damn sturdy, and then it doesn't really matter how big or heavy it is. The card itself doesn't sag. Whether or not your motherboard can handle it, well, that's a question for Eric and Michiel, because they're in charge of the motherboards. But yeah, I mean you can imagine they're also taking this kind of stuff into consideration. All right, let's continue then. Yeah, I saw some people mentioning this already, and yes, there is a dual BIOS on this card as well. Last generation we also had this generation too, and yeah, they will be different fan profiles, and in some cases a different TDP setting as well, meaning in the gaming setting, ideally, you should be able to get way more performance out of it. Yes, it might get a little bit louder because the fans will have to spin a bit faster. But
so by default,
you're prioritizing performance. By default, out of the box, it will be set to the silent mode, especially because it's 450 watt for the 4090. It's 450 watts by default, and so we don't want to push it much higher than that by default. You of course have the choice to do that, and it's fine. It's all covered by warranty, no problem.
Then you switch to the gaming profile.
Exactly, yeah. But it will be in silent by default out of the box.
Somebody is saying 450 to 600 watt. Sorry, we're not allowed to talk about that at this moment.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of NDAs in place for NVIDIA.
So silent mode, yeah, I think we can say and confirm that the silent mode in this case for the 4090 is set to 450 to the default power spec. So that's 450 watts, yes. Okay, I think this is clear. Then, some people already, I'm not sure if you guys guessed it because it was in the last generation as well, and maybe, wait, let's see if you guys missed it, but yes, if you buy a Supreme card, and I'm just going to duck out of the way here, you get a very nice mouse pad with the stitched edges as well, as you can see. Really nice, completely in the theme of the card itself, with the updated branding. And even though bending and sagging is not really a thing, we know that a lot of people are still concerned, so we still include a nice stand that you can put in your case, which is very easy to set to whatever height you put your graphics card. And it also has the Supreme branding on
it. If we do, let's say, if we can do benchmarks by the time, we should have a scale here that we can put it on to see how much it weighs. Because I had it in my hands and it was like, well. It's
stand reveal. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, then another thing, maybe switch to your capture, Eric, because indeed some of the things we weren't able and allowed to show, unfortunately, because we weren't able.
We have here, or what?
Exactly, yeah, we weren't able, well, we need to do by render, because we weren't allowed to show like, the PCB or actually take off the cooler from a 40 series.
Yeah.
So instead we need to do with renders. So currently the Supreme cards on 4090 and 4080 16 gig will be equipped with a vapor chamber. And what I've seen is a lot of vendors are doing this. This is not by accident. It's because a vapor chamber, especially at higher wattages and higher power usage, vapor chamber becomes more effective than air cooling with a what is it? Yeah, with our traditional layout, let's say, with the base plate and the heat pipes directly touching that.
What's the girl's Instagram?
I don't know. I think maybe she might be in the chat, so if you're lucky, she might post it. I don't know. Anyway, do you vape, bro? Yeah, we do, indeed. That's a nice one. Nice catch. That thing is huge. That's what she said. Yep, that's all true. I wonder if the FE has a vapor chamber. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm curious now as well. I want to know. But indeed, so vapor chamber, and basically a vapor chamber pretty much only makes sense when you get above a certain power usage. Otherwise, it's kind of it doesn't really offer any benefits over the traditional cooling that we've had in the previous generations.
Will there be a water block version? Stay tuned.
Yeah, indeed. I'm not sure. I think we have more slides on your. Yeah, there we go. So underneath the vapor chamber, there are the traditional heat sinks, heat pipes, and as you can see, there's a lot of them. I haven't even counted them. I don't want to. It's just a lot. But as you can see, they go through all through the heatsink, and they'll make sure of a good heat dissipation. And are they enough for the cooling? Well, you'll have to wait and see for the reviews. But yeah, we're pretty confident. Yes. Yeah, maybe go to the next slide. Yeah, so basically there's a cross section. What we did is we tried to make the kind of similar to previous generations as well. We call them the core pipes, but basically we tried to make the heat pipes as square as possible and as flat as possible at the point where they touch the vapor chamber in this case. Used to be the base plate. Basically that is to maximize the surface area in which they are able to transfer, the vapor chamber in this case is able to transfer the heat to the heat pipes, and then the heat pipes, their job is simply to transfer the heat, transport the heat rather, into the heat sink and then basically get rid of it that way.
So entertainment, make sure you're here on Monday. I cannot repeat why. Monday we have a stream about something exciting.
Yeah,
this we basically showed,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
I thought, I mean, we had a render as plan B, but I prefer to show a real life example because I think that would be clearer, better. Maybe you can show indeed the card with the stand applied. Again, this is also a render, but just in case you're wondering, this is how it will look with the stand applied as well. So that's pretty nice.
Normally I would say any questions about Supreme, but you had a lot of questions. We're sorry we cannot pick out. The chat is going too fast, and
it's still going. Brrr.
Yeah, we cannot comment on price. We cannot comment about performance, clock speeds, or TDP. So or 4070 or whatever you guys are making up.
High Demon. That sounds like a good basis for a rap song. Conduction to forced convection.
Can you say when the NDA lifts? Well, NVIDIA announced that on the 12th of October, I don't know what time, the cards are available. So I would say that's when the NDA lifts.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit earlier, you never know, but that's at least when it will be
traditionally and typically that's exactly when the on shelf. So when the card is available is when you'll also have reviews available and stuff like that. But again, we don't know because the official NDA and review NDA hasn't been confirmed or communicated yet, let's say. But again, that is what's to be expected. Yes. Okay. Gaming and gaming trio in this case. So also a evolution of our previous generation card, which I think did pretty well. Was a really nice card. Yeah, you can go to my.
Oh, too many buttons.
Too many buttons. Wrong labels, maybe.
No.
So again, guys, for your viewing pleasure, a 360 view of the card.
I think these are similar 360 views will also be available on our website, so people can watch the...
In a rendering, though.
In a render, okay, yes. Yeah. But on the website, I think most product pages are already online, except the one... I had an echo because of my can of Coke. Damn it.
You should really get rid of that can of Coke during the live stream, because if it doesn't spill, it causes echo or all other kinds of issues.
I never spilled something. I don't recall.
Yeah? No?
No.
Luckily, it didn't happen on camera, did it?
And it didn't happen on my notebook. A few days later, I was like, my keyboard wasn't responding. And I was like, what the? Anyway, then I noticed it's because of the Diet Coke.
And then you ended up on Reddit tech support gore.
No.
All right, anyway. So really nice card. Only 4 ports. Yeah, again, that's the same layout, basically the default, and what we think is applies for most people. Because if you can add more display outputs if you want, that will just increase the price. And most people will either just connect 1 or 2 monitors, or if you want to do a surround monitor, like 3 of the same, you'll want to have 3 of the same connectors as well for the best result.
I have 3 different monitors. It's not really surround; it's more squared.
Yeah, you use 3 different computers for each.
No.
Anyway.
And if you want to make use of like NVIDIA G-Sync, etc., it's all about DisplayPort.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, then we also have a nice size comparison for you guys. And again, this is, I'll just pause the video where you can see both the cards. Yes. But as you can see, this is comparing the last generation, also I think it's a 3090 Gaming X Trio on the right versus the 4090 Gaming X Trio on the left. And again, there you can see the massive size disparity where the 3090 Gaming X Trio was just, I think, about 3 slots.
But that one was already big. At that moment we
thought,
said,
we were like, all right, that's huge. But yeah. Turns out we can go bigger.
Yeah, so Roscoe in the chat is correct. Most VR headsets are still, I would not sure. Anyway, they're using HDMI. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think especially also that's one of the things that Wi-Fi 6E was and 6 was highlighting as well. I think more VR headsets are moving to being wireless because the whole cable thing is annoying when you're, especially, I mean, for games where you're sitting still, it's not that big of an issue. But for games where you're having to stand up and maybe move around a bit, yeah, it's annoying. Anyway, but yeah, big card. Also there, it's again, to all intents and purposes, it's 4 slots. It's going to be 3 and probably 3.75, kind of like the Supreme card, but it's pretty much 4 slots.
I choose the one in the middle. We will tell her.
Nice. Yes. I'm sure she's happy with the compliments, and she did a great job. Thank you again for taking the time to record this video, dear HQ colleagues.
So the shroud is changed a little bit compared to previous gaming. It looks a little bit more aggressive, I would say.
Yeah. Yes. Indeed. And it has like these, you know, kind of carbon-looking parts to it. One thing that is changed, but not really, are these the stripes. I think last generation we also had 3 on each side. The thing that has changed now is basically they also go around the corner, basically, to the sides of the card, just a little bit. But yeah, they still look quite aggressive. Again, that is kind of the MO of gaming, right? It's more like aggressive and, yeah, a gamer aesthetic as well. So yeah, we really want to differentiate as well on the aesthetic of the cards so that you have something to choose. We don't want to make them too similar because again, then basically it's, you know, you don't know what to choose.
Jakub is wondering if the laptops will also be 4 times thicker.
I don't know.
Well, they didn't announce anything.
No, that always takes a while longer indeed, so you'll have to wait. So yeah, RGB on the shroud and a little bit bleeding into the sides there. Then on the side itself, the Dragon and MSI logos are RGB lit as well. So you'll get RGB on those. Then we have the power connector, and again, you'll get a converter cable with that as well. With, in this case, because I think, I'm not sure if the power usage is lower than, probably the potential power usage may be a bit lower than Supreme. But again, it's 3 8-pins on the other side and the 16-pin or 12 plus 4 pin on the other side.
And also overclocking potential is higher on Supreme.
Yes, yeah.
Because of
Torch
the
fan 5.0, I mean, we've seen this in, it's exactly the same fan pretty much as the Supreme card, so both share the same new fan design. When it comes to the heatsink, also a lot of similarities. Again, you can see the wave curve patterns in the heatsink, and you can see the deflector, so it is very similar. Let's see. Yep, and of course we have the dual BIOS switch. So also there, the gaming, I'm not quite sure with gaming how it is in TDP, but especially the fan profiles will for sure be different. So with the silent mode, again, you will just have a more silent experience. So if you prefer silence, or at least lower noise levels, and you don't mind just perhaps a little bit less performance, or letting the temperatures run up just a bit higher, but again, it's all secured so that if the temperature does get up high enough, the fans will react. So you don't need to worry.
Yeah, it's all relative also, because if you're gaming with a headset, you don't hear any sound, any noise.
That's not true. I hear people always complaining about that. For example, they can either hear things like fan noise or even coil whine with their headset on. So you have
coil whine could be something else.
Yeah,
but fan noise I never.
Well, it depends.
And I have a 3090.
But it's a personal thing, and that's why we want to offer this choice, and we want to kind of make it easy for you guys, so you can actually just say, right, and even on the fly, you can say, right, so now I don't care about some noise, I just want max performance. All right, go into gaming mode, and you'll have it. But if you say, right, now, I don't want the extra noise, I just want the silence. All right. Let's just switch into silent
Hidden
mode.
Profile on YouTube is asking, are you going to release any new monitors for these performance cards? We already have the 360 Hz gaming monitors, which are more meant for esports, 1080p. But let's wait for performance. I mean, these probably will push out a high FPS for a lot of games. They also promised to remove the bottleneck on some CPU bound games. So let us see how much that can improve the frame rate. Like for example, what game is CPU bound?
Most games
CS:GO?
most games with high FPS or competitive games.
Competitive games indeed, yeah. So yeah, and we have a lot of monitors planned.
Yes. I also saw somebody just now asking about if there is if they're hoping that we were going to make like ITX or smaller models. Honestly, for cards like the 4090 and 4080, I wouldn't really hold my breath, because
for sure not.
You need the cooling capacity. If you make the heatsink smaller, it's not going to be able to handle this card, and it's not going to be able to give you performance.
But later we have a smaller model after this one.
Yeah, in a way.
Anyway.
In a way it is smaller, but in other ways it's not. So anyway, but yeah, honestly, we will consider that when and where it makes sense. Meaning we will only do it if we can ensure a good experience, a good cooling, and not sounding like a leaf blower if possible as well. So there you go. Right. Yeah, and then with these cards as well, you get a nice support bracket. And as you can see, this one you can attach to the expansion slots in your case. And the top part actually goes over the I/O shield of the graphics card itself. In the past, it didn't do that, which I thought was a bit of a shame, because there's always a color difference, and also just extending this just makes the whole thing stronger, the whole support of it as well. So, but just by putting this over this part as well, it just kind of makes it seem more like a whole. So it's a nice touch.
Master Sentry on YouTube. I'm assuming RGB can be controlled in the MSI Center Mystic lights. Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
A nice support bracket.
So basically, what I can say about the support bracket is, from what I've been told so far, is that pretty much you can assume that for all 3-fan cards, there will be a support bracket included, because those are quite long and hefty.
Just to make sure that the weight is supported.
Pretty much that will be what you can expect. Yeah, indeed. Well, that's the thing. It's I see somebody saying you don't need it, but it's recommended. Pretty heavy GPU. Yeah, the thing is, honestly, you don't need to use that support. At least not from our side. We're confident that the card is strong enough. It doesn't need the support. It has the built-in anti-bending measure and anti-sagging. But we don't know the rest of your build. We don't know your case. We don't know your motherboard. So. And we just know that a lot of people, it's causing people headaches.
Better save that story.
Yeah, they're worried about this. So instead of just saying, don't worry and no need to worry, we opted to include something like this to kind of, offer you some extra peace of mind.
ITX case support only if it's big enough. So probably no. Well, like what Peter said, these cards require a lot of cooling, and you need to do it either in the how do you say that? The number of slots will be thicker, or it will be longer, or it will be higher.
But even in terms of longer or like wider, there's you have specifications, certain parameters you need to follow. So that means that within certain cases and the ATX standards, there are some thresholds you cannot cross. Otherwise, it will not be certified for that standard.
Liquid cooling version, which we will look later on, will be smaller, but smaller, not small.
Indeed. So that pretty much covers a gaming trio, at least for the live video.
Some parts
yeah. Let's. You need to go to the.
Oh. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there you go. Because that will also give me the opportunity to switch videos. Quick, nobody notices. All right. Yeah. Indeed. So these are the basically the renders, but also to give you some idea of the RGB how it looks. So indeed, can you go if you go to the next slide?
Yeah. So Pixel, we're not allowed to talk about the TDPs or the power limits at this moment.
Yeah.
Weight you can find on the product pages on the website. The weight of each card. The Supreme product pages are still not online. This should be tomorrow.
Yes.
All the other cards are online.
Sometimes with some people like specifically asking for things that we know that we're not allowed to say, it's almost like if you're paranoid, you'd be like, you're not working for NVIDIA, are you? just to check if we wouldn't give away the goods.
No, we know the rules,
just
don't
kidding.
worry.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, also here it says a render again to show you some idea of what the RGB Mystic Light will look like. Yeah, it's a little bit over the top, I think, but you get the idea.
So Supreme, yeah, this is a render. Supreme, yes. Is it higher than gaming? Yes, yeah. Meaning it has a bigger PCB with more power phases, yes. Better cooling, and you name it, higher overclocking potential.
It's a little bit more premium in general, and that's both on the outside and on the inside. Yeah. So yes. Okay, yeah, and the gaming cards, both on the 4090 and the 4080, they will all use our, let's say, traditional cooling layout, meaning they have a GPU base plate, as you can see here, which does cover the memory as well. So here you can also see that, the little things that the standoffs at the sides, that's where the memory modules are located. So yeah, cooled by both of them. Pretty much, I think can you grab the heatsink again that was there?
The heatsink, yes.
Yeah, because again, this is not new. Here we go. Oh, the phone cam.
Sure.
I like it as long as it works.
If it works,
the image quality is so much better. Here we go. So yeah, it's this, guys. It's basically this, and as you can see, this also it's like these things actually stand out from the this is a nickel plated copper base plate.
Spacer.
Anyway, so it's the same principle as this. It's tried and tested, and it works very well. And Eric is leaving his fingerprints everywhere. I'm pretty sure Eric's going to have to clean that up. Look, hey Eric. Anyway,
you did a good job.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Imagine getting smacked by that thing. Well, I would rather not. To be fair, I think that would leave a mark. Okay, yeah, maybe go to the next slide. Also there, I mean, it's the same principle that we've had for a couple of generations. What you see is just the move from generation to generation, removing gaps in between the heat pipes, making sure that you have as much as possible contact area between the heat pipes and the thing that's catching the heat from the GPU. In this case, in the gaming case, it is the base plate, and in the Supreme case, that's the vapor chamber.
And I think you all need to just wait for reviews to see what the performance, noise levels and cooling performance is of these cards.
I thought it was a shining thermal paste. No, I actually removed it, guys. I'm going to have to redo the thermal paste before I put it back together. But, I'm happy to do it for you guys because it looks better. Yeah, here in the heatsink, again, this is something we also showed again. This is what we call the air integrated fins. So it's basically like, the little cavity that we created in between the fin stack and the PCB at the very end of the card with the flow-through design. Yeah, you can go to the next one because again, it's the same thing. This is the back plate, and yeah, as you can see, I think it's metal, and it will have some thermal pads on the back of it as well. Same with Supreme. I may have forgotten to mention that, but yeah, so it will passively help somewhat with the cooling. But as you can see, and also on the right side of the of the backplate, you can see there is a flow-through design there, similar to what we have on the Supreme. Yeah, we don't have to keep showing this, but it's...
Well, I wanted to show the cooling pads on the other side.
Oh, that, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, again, this is not a backplate of the 40 series, but the principle remains the same. There are some cooling pads. And you might be wondering, well, what is this shiny coating here? This is all shiny. And that will not help with heat dissipation, obviously. But if I were to peel a little part of this off, see if I can do that without breaking it off. Underneath these thermal pads, there is no such coating. So it's just direct contact to the actual metal or aluminum, in this case, backplate. This coating is on here, just to ensure that if in the event of anything on the back of the PCB, like a soldering point or any kind of component, accidentally touching the metal, it's non-conductive, so it won't short anything out. If you wouldn't have this and something would, by whatever reason, contact the back of the PCB while it's powered, you could short it. So that's why we do that. All in the name of safety, guys. Right, yeah, and here is basically how the bracket, the support bracket would look with this Gaming X Trio card. All right then, moving on.
I like this one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if many of you guys know, in the past we've had like Seahawk. It's a similar concept. It's a hybrid cooled card. Basically, we call it Supreme Liquid, and we call it that because it has. Yeah, you can go to this video. We'll roll the tape, and it looks. I really love how this looks. It's so clean.
I just had the real one in my hands, and I was like, "Why can we not show it?" But now I see it's. I mean, it's not a finished product. And now I see the difference.
Was a very rough engineering sample, and the finished thing just looks so much better. Yeah. So there's a 240mm radiator. That's the big black thing you're looking at, and it has two fans on it, two 120mm fans or 12 centimeter, and. The back plate also very nice. Why it's part of the Supreme series is because it is using, I think, as far as I understand, the exact same PCB as the air-cooled Supreme. So that also means you have extra headroom to actually do something with that increased cooling potential. So that's really nice. Couple of things I want to point out. You may see that there is a single. It's this way actually. There's a single Torx fan here.
Torx 4, 5,
Torx
6,
5. So this is also the new generation fan. So it's 3 fan blades linked together. Excuse me. And the back of the card, let's see if that's visible from what angle. Here we go. The rear of the card, here, this is completely closed. We did that for a good reason. We did that because, and I'm going to see if we can get the angle from the front again, because we want the air to move in this direction, not into this direction. And that has to do with two things. One, this direction means it's going into the case. So it doesn't exit out of the case. This direction is straight out of the case and out of your worry zone, so it doesn't affect any other components. Also, the airflow that comes from this, it hits the power delivery components, or PWM, that are straight under here, under the fan itself. But probably, I mean, in most of these cases, there's also some components right there. So we want the airflow to actually move along this side to the of the card to cool all this part. And in the middle here, that's where the pump is located for actually covering, I think this covers, if I'm not mistaken, the GPU itself and the memory modules.
The thin chick I want.
What? Yeah, I mean, this is, yeah, exactly. I mean, this thing is pretty much, is it pretty much, where can we see that? Is it about
I would say 2 slots.
Just over 2 slots, maybe?
Is it over?
Yes, yeah, like the little thing that juts out here, the little point. That thing might just make it a little bit thicker than 2 slots. But other than that, it's indeed, it's one of the thinnest cards that we have.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at this, I think it jots out a little bit from the bracket. So that means it's just going over 2 slots.
You have the product page open. You want to check or not?
No. Okay. Well, we can check that in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, of course, also there, the RGB, well, it's Supreme, so we want it to be consistent, so you also get the nice arrow RGB shape there.
Yeah, so this is how the RGB looks. You have it's a render.
Yes.
So you have a little bit in ID.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And also on the backplate, you get, of course, the Supreme logo, the diamond shape, which is also RGB backlit. And on the side, you get the Supreme lettering. So it's quite dark, but you can see a little bit of the glossy here. This will also light up, so only the Supreme letters.
I saw a question in the chat, can we have the GeForce can we have the GeForce
Yeah.
RTX logo with RGB? I think that's not allowed. There are a lot of rules, and if you check all vendors, I think all vendors have the same font, same location for GeForce RTX on the car.
Yeah.
So
I think it's one of the like what they call the design rules, indeed, and they are there for consistency, so you're not allowed to change them. I think anyway. And you can see the power connector here as well, which we will show again in a minute. I think this video is a little bit shorter. Yeah, here we go. And you also there you get the converter, the power converter.
Just in case if you don't have the ATX 3.0 or PCI Express 5 connector on your power supply.
And there's a Torx fan 5. Of course. The dual BIOS switch.
Because again, this uses the Supreme PCB.
Yes, that wasn't quick. And maybe a nice touch, maybe you didn't see it yet, but like the edges of a lot of the metal parts on the Supreme actually have like a gilded finish to it. I mean, they had it on the last generation as well, on some, I think it was on the shroud only, like where the fans were located. But it's so fine, it's not really over the top, it's just like, it's really refined finish there as well. So it's just a small touch, like this little gilded edge, which is nice. Then you might notice, of course, we have this big, but a 240mm radiator, and you can switch to the table here if you want.
Oh, to the table.
Yeah, to the close-up cam. I mean, I'm not sure if you guys know, but we also make liquid coolers. And this is the MEG, out of the MEG line, and MEG is like the top of the line. It's like, I don't know, the Supreme of the.
You want to use the mobile phone or
other? No, I think it's fine. We can, Anyway, it's like these are the top end coolers that we have. MEG is our high end line, let's say.
S240.
And this is the S240. No, actually the S280.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're
because
right.
these are a bit thicker. But what I wanted to point out is basically we are using the exact same fans as on this one. Well, not this one, because these are 140mm fans. We are using a little bit smaller ones, and that's this one. These are the Silent Gale P12 fans, and these are really good, really silent, and offer really good air pressure and cooling potential at the same time. One of the things that also helps to keep them really nice and silent is they have a hydrodynamic bearing, by the way, so that's very durable, means and very silent as well. So it means it's really premium in that respect. And secondly, they've got these, what do you call these actually? Like rubber fittings at the edges here, and these are anti-vibration brackets. So basically that means that doesn't matter, usually these can also be used as case fans, basically. But we also use them on our pre-seated, basically, on our liquid cooler line, the high end anyway. And so these help that if there's any vibration coming, for example, from the fan spinning or whatever, and it's causing any kind of vibration, you're not going to hear that, because these rubber parts will dampen that. RGB fans, no, actually. We've chosen to not do that.
Silent game is about performance, not about RGB.
Yeah, exactly. So in this case, I mean, again, if the outcry is big enough, then who knows? We may consider it. And as we all know, more RGB means more performance, more FPS. That's a given. Source, trust me, bro. But yeah, that's something that we chose. Let's go for fans that we know are good and that have been tested. Basically, these are the best fans from this size, from the 120 and maybe even the 140mm size that we have in our assortment. So we went for
So
these.
we're not talking about the radiator. It's now about the fans.
Yeah, that's only the fans. However, talking a little bit more about the liquid cooling solution that we use on the Supreme Liquid. That looks like this. So this is basically the pump unit in an exploded view. At the top you basically see how it looks assembled, and then under that it's an exploded view. As you can see, it has a two-chamber or split chamber design, and the pump is actually inside the cooling unit, the block indeed, I think is the name. And as you can see, it has a pretty big copper base with micro fins and all that. I think that's pretty normal with most liquid coolers there. But as you can see, what I do want to point out is that it doesn't just cover, because again, if you can, you just put it away. But
yeah, well, what do you want?
most of these liquid coolers, no, they're just the liquid cooler itself, the pump unit. And then maybe the close-up.
Sure.
Yeah. As you can see, I mean, most of these liquid coolers for CPUs, they will look like this. You know, they'll just have one plate, usually round, and it only needs to cover the CPU. But if you cover, yeah, you're looking at it there, indeed. Now go to the slides.
Oh my God.
I wanted to show exactly what you were going through. But for the GPU, for the graphics card, of course you have the GPU itself, but you also have the memory modules sitting around it. So you want to cool both of them. And in this case, if you go to the next slide, it actually highlights them. Yeah, there you go. So this actually also cools not just the GPU, but also the memory modules around it. So that's always nice. And that means that both of them should be, you know, plenty cool, and there's plenty cooling capacity for both the GPU and the memory modules. Yeah, I mean here again, you've already seen it, but this is a nice exploded view. So there is the Torx Fan 5 and also the fan cowl around it. So basically, again, that helps to kind of channel the air into and accelerate the air into the heatsink and into the card. What are you doing? Yeah, the video was pretty much finished, I think. Yeah, we went to the end. Yeah. So those are, I think you can go to that one. Yeah, go to the capture. Yeah, you go. And then I can get rid of this. Yeah. So yeah, the radiator is what I mentioned. It is 240 millimeters. So that should be, you know, pretty much, it should fit in most mid-tower cases, yeah, right? Yeah. If you're not using already pretty big cooler for your CPU. And it's a black aluminum radiator. Again, it's pretty standard, but it's proven technology. It works well.
So good question. 4080 fits in the case of Trident X. To be honest, I don't know, and I think also the dimensions of 4080 12 and 4080 60 gig.
Which one?
Probably are different, or at least the TDP is different. So you need to take physical size, heat dissipation. And the PSU into consideration. Yeah. So that's not an easy question to answer. I need to check.
Yeah. And there are a lot of things still to be discovered about this generation as well. We also watched it by some media as well. They were saying we don't know how these cards act in terms of power draw and what kind of power supply you will need because you'll have what I think the key term is transient spikes, right? Yeah. Like basically, your power supply needs to be able to handle the spikes that the card generates. So it's not like a sustained high load, but sometimes it can spike quite a bit higher than, at least in some previous generations as well. And that if your power supply is not able to handle that, then it's end of story. I'm not going to say it destroys your power supply, but at the very least, it's probably going to shut down your system or something, which is not good, obviously. So there's a lot of things that still need to be seen, how they react, how things work, and that will all come to light in in the media reviews after or at the launch. I don't know when they happen, but yeah. Okay, and this is the Silent Gale P12 fan where we highlighted the anti-vibration pads there. Yeah, one thing we didn't have that much information about because on the 4090, at the moment we're not launching the Ventus 3X. On the 4080, however, both of them, the 16 gig and the 12 gig models, we will be launching or introducing the Ventus 3X series when they become available. So I don't have quite as much information, and unfortunately no video about this one yet, but at least here you can kind of see the new design, the evolution of the design. It's still the same design philosophy though. It's still I want to say basically stick to the basics card. So there's not going to be any RGB. This really is a card for people who don't really care about all the extras like RGB or a dual BIOS switch or something. They just want, I want that GPU, and as long as the cooling is good and I just put it in my system, I'm good. I don't need anything else. I just want that for the performance. Then Ventus is definitely the card for you.
Yeah, I see still a lot of questions in the chat regarding when it will be available. That will be 12th of October.
That's pricing, for the 4090.
Yeah, 4090 indeed.
Just to be clear.
4080 will be later, not announced yet when.
Yeah, it's not specified.
No. Then pricing, well, we are not allowed to talk about or pricing or TDP or clock speeds or... And we are not allowed to show the PCB.
PCB or specific components yet.
But I think on the 12th of October, when it will be available, at least by that time, that's also on Wednesday, right?
Is it?
Yeah, should be. Then we should be able to talk about it.
I think somebody at NVIDIA loves us because they know our live streams are on Wednesdays and they do a lot of launches on Wednesdays. So.
Yeah, I'm going to take the overview for everybody.
Yes.
So next Monday again, we will be live, which is at 3 o'clock, 1 hour earlier.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's still NDA, guys. You know, it will be Peter. No, sorry, not will be Peter. It will be Michiel and it will be Ruud.
Me again?
So you know, Michiel, you know what kind of products he is doing, and you know, Ruud means benchmarking the hell out of something.
And going into the deep end.
Yeah, and probably opening up and etc.
Yes.
Then Wednesday, also next week, usual time, we will covering the Intel Innovation Event. Also very important, guys. We're not allowed to talk about it, but you probably know what this means. The week after, on a Wednesday, it's also NDA. And then the 12th of October, we don't know the time yet, but
we're eagerly awaiting
the date. But that is the moment we can talk about much more details and show you probably PCB, etc.
Presumably. That's usually how it goes, so that is our expectation, but it has happened in the past.
We say 4 o'clock, but it should be normally these things always launch at 9.
But I do want to caveat that a little bit because there has been, I think, one example in the past generation when actually we weren't allowed to talk about things like performance and specs and stuff by the time it was the on-shelf. So I'm not saying that
NDA waiting room,
I'm not saying it's 100% guaranteed that we'll be able to show you everything by that time, but 99% of the launches of the past, I don't know how many generations, it has been that way. So it is kind of to be expected.
Yeah, and otherwise we move it to Thursday or something, and you will probably ahead of time you will hear about it.
As soon as we are allowed to do it, we will do it.
Yeah. You still have any topics left to cover?
Actually, my head is just going kind of like the chat. I don't know, actually. Did we? Well, maybe we can show a couple of things because we had like some bonus movies, didn't we?
I don't know.
Which ones were the most interesting?
I think most people saw them, but you can...
Yeah. Well, these are. I mean, we had some NVIDIA movies from the NVIDIA launch as well, and it shows like the impact of DLSS 3 and things like the what was it? The increase of FPS that you can expect. Again, these are all from NVIDIA, so it's nothing new. You probably, if you've seen the event or if you've read on the internet some articles, you've probably seen them. So yeah, especially the spam you saw earlier in the live stream where we went over, like it was a recap of the NVIDIA stuff. I think most people said, "Oh, spare me this. We all know this." I guess we'll spare you that, guys. So, but yeah. I hope you liked our coverage of the NVIDIA GTC 2022. Which
we are,
Well, we had to make up something that
this is the same like we say NDA or we say Intel event. I mean, we're not allowed to talk about details, so that's why we call it like this.
Yeah, but we are allowed to
cover the small part of the event.
We will cover the event, and that's
availability. What we heard, availability will be good, but I didn't ask for specifics.
No.
But what I was told looks promising.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, that differs per region.
Let's just say, I think I can quote somebody, I'm not going to say who, but they told me it was kind of safe to say that if somebody wants to buy one of these cards after they're on shelf, you know, when they go for sale, it's quite safe to assume that you should be able to get one, is pretty much what they told me. Again, no guarantees, but it's kind of what they said we should expect.
Okay. Thank you all for joining. Again, I hope to see you next week, Monday, 1 hour ahead of schedule. Not me. I mean, I will not be here. Michiel will be here. Yeah. Something really exciting. And if you cannot make it, please try to watch it back. I'm sure a lot of people are waiting for that kind of content, that kind of topic. Yes. And the Wednesday after, so next week, Wednesday, we will also be here. Thank you all for joining, and see you next week, Monday.
Exciting times coming,
1
guys.
hour ahead of schedule, 3 o'clock CEST. Thank you all.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Take
for
care.
now. Bye.